let's move on to the challenges faced by state and local governments in preventing Social Security and tax fraud, which has been quite pervasive during COVID. How are your organizations, start out with Raj, and we'll go to Tony on this question of identifying and mitigating fraudulent activities, especially in a decentralized environment?
Well, really what we use within, Raj, I'm sorry. Well, I mean, we use our products. We use neurons, and from neurons and what we do from an endpoint device management, look, I've got 3,000 peers spread throughout the globe. I mean, and we've got to make sure that we know what they're using. We've got to have control of those devices. We also have 25,000 VMs spread through 3 colos throughout the world. So, from that standpoint, we've got to use our tools to make sure that we understand what devices are on our network and be able to, protect against any bad actors out there.
Yeah, excellent.
So, from the state government side or from the public sector side, there are 2 aspects to it, right? The federal government policies on what data needs to be protected, that flows through to us. And the state has its own mechanism or its own laws that adds to how those data should be protected for the state constituents. So for example, we take the acronym soup-based approach, like PCI, PII, PHI kind of approach. So if it is sensitive or confidential information, depending on which agency you talk to, they have their own mechanism of what that individual qualifying information is, or right, whatever that identifier is, they try to protect that with more layers of security. Then access is controlled appropriately so that it's on a need-to-know basis. But depending on the legacy, depending on how old some of these databases are, depending on how some of these applications access those databases are, there are some nuances. Pretty much many of the practitioners here would know, because if it's a primary key in a database, you can't do much with it. So there are some compensating controls. I think this is also a good spot for me to indicate, not only look at it from an IT technology solution, also look at this from a business prospect and the internal controls surrounding that business process, right? So having that basic understanding of how internal controls translate into an IT control and proper risk management, I think is the key to success.
Well said. Thank you for that insight. Moving on to the next question, considering the shift toward remote work and AI and automation and being able to increase efficiency of internal operations, excel at service delivery, deliver exceptional customer service experiences, certainly, with Keynote yesterday, saw a lot of vision on that. Let's start, Jason, with you. How are you taking that on with your company?
So there's 3 ways that we're looking at AI. How do we drive more efficiency with our customers and our experience? We're doing a lot of this through our network provision automation. We're using AI, how we service our customers from a billing standpoint. So from a security perspective, we want to make sure that we're in front of that and partnering with the business to understand what are those key use cases that they want to use, and then understand the threats that surround that, and then putting the guardrails, in place from that perspective. So we've done a fairly decent job of putting governance in place to make sure that we have those security phase gates throughout the process. Never, 5 years ago, I didn't imagine that we would have a AI ethics committee and, AI governance in place, a full team that's doing nothing but, model engineering and things like that. From a workplace productivity standpoint, and I hate to mention the M word, but we have gone all in on Copilot, and we took a conservative effort because we wanted a commercial agreement in place for those protections, and we chose Microsoft to help enable our employee base. So we use GitHub for Copilot, M365, and a lot of that has been a cultural shift, a lot of training, a lot of development. So because it's a different way that our employee base is utilizing AI, and just having it ingrained as something that they do every day. That's been a journey for us as well. And then I'd say with our security folks, and we'll get more into that, I think, is how do we retrain them as we use AI so they really understand what the data is the data accurate, so that when they're looking at outputs of the AI, they could take the appropriate actions and challenge it if they need to, because we don't want to get in a situation where we're just believing everything that the tool is telling us. We want to be able to reverse engineer that and make sure that we're making the right choice as a human as well.
Mm-hmm. Tony, would you like to add?
Yeah, sure. Well, I would say for those that know Bob, our CIO, who couldn't be here today, unfortunately, but he is Mr. Customer Zero. So when it comes to leveraging our tools, Bob is very insistent on making sure that we do so and do so in a proper way. And what we've been doing is what Sri mentioned with the Copilot ITSM work that we did as part of the EAP, is we first launched ticket classification, right? So we can now automatically assign tickets to the correct teams that are coming through with AI. But the next phase of this really is, over the course of the past 4 years, we've built out about 85 different self-service tiles within ITSM. Most of them are automated. So if you can find a tile, you can get the work done you needed in an automated fashion. It can be anything from ordering accessories. It could be whitelisting a domain. There's a number of different services that are out there. But where I see this going with AI is really there should be just one interface. And you ask the question and you route it to the right place. That includes deflection, it includes self-service, it includes any of the services that we're going to have. So that's where I think the leverage is going to come, is really making sure that we allow our people to interact with the teams, but where we can, take some of the non-value add tasks out of the teams that I've got working.
Excellent. And how about from a state government perspective?
So the state is looking at AI in two different perspectives. One for internal service delivery and external constituent-facing service delivery, which is more application-oriented, application-centric. Like, for example, if somebody is applying for some type of housing assistance or a SNAP benefit or workforce solution benefit, things of that nature, they are already existing currently in some shape or form with predictive algorithm, things of that nature, including fraud mitigation. I think that's where the significant work has been done within the vendor community to mitigate risk and fraud as it relates to those benefits. On the internal consumption side, for day-to-day operations, either on the IT side or on the security side, we have those mechanisms, including those predictive algorithms that I mentioned, especially on the cyber side, because the volume of data that we are talking about between like prior to COVID and post-COVID, in terms of telemetry that we gather from these endpoints and other devices, has grown like fourfolds, right? So we are using variety of tools, including AI, to make it easy for the security operations centers of the state and folks working there, and to the cybersecurity team folks, how to prioritize and how to get that timely intervention accomplished.